Well, it's 1 o'clock. We might as well, start and kick this off. So welcome everybody to this virtual open house presentation for businesses interested in the UN Global Compact and in the UN Global Compact Network Australia, us. My name is Greta Korthaus. I'm the Stakeholder Engagement Manager. This presentation is being held on the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and I pay my respects to elders past and present. Next slide, please, Amelia. Thank you. Please meet the team. We are 9 staff based in Melbourne, Sydney, and Hobart. On the call today is our Marketing and Communications Manager, Emilia Maubach. And presenting with me today is Simiao Yu, Participant Engagement Regional Manager, joining from New York, where it is, I think, 9 p.m. now. So thank you, Simiao. Next, please. Thank you. Before we begin, a quick note on housekeeping. You can use the chat function to introduce yourself and to find links that we will be sharing during today's presentation. The chat function also allows you to ask questions at any time, and we will be answering these questions after the presentation. If you have any technical issues, you can call the number on the slide. Also, probably good to know this presentation is being recorded, and we will share the link, so the recording link and the slides via email over the coming days with anyone who has registered. Next, please. Okay, in today's presentation, we will introduce ourselves, both on the global and the local level. We will talk about the challenges the private sector is facing, but also about how its commitments and leadership can shift the dial. We will talk about how we support business, both corporates, large corporates, and SMEs. We'll talk you through the benefits and the business case for joining the UN Global Compact and explain to you how you can join the initiative. And we will answer your questions. With that, let's start with an overview of who we are. I'm handing over to you, Simiao.
Great, thank you, Greta, and hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Simiao Yu. I lead our company engagement in the Asia-Oceania region at the UN Global Compact office. So when you become a participant of the UN Global Compact, in addition to the great support programs you get from the local network in Australia, myself and my team at the UN Global Compact Global Office are also here to help you, to support you achieve your sustainability goals. So first, please allow me to introduce you to the Global Compact and the current landscape of sustainability. So on the screen here, you see this is the founder of the UN Global Compact, Mr. Kofi Annan, the former UN Secretary General. We are the United Nations Corporate Sustainability Initiative, founded by Mr. Kofi Annan back in the year 2000. The goal is to bring a human face to the global market by enabling companies to do business in a responsible way. So what we did is, on the next slide, you will see some principles that we are calling for companies to take action on. So we use a principles-based approach to help companies achieve their sustainability goals and to operationalize corporate responsibility. Every company that's committed to the UN Global Compact had a public statement also sent to the UN Secretary General, embedding the 10 principles of the UN Global Compact into their core business strategies and operations. And the 10 principles cover these 4 areas you see on the screen: human rights, labor, the environment, and anti-corruption. They were developed from the UN Convention's UN Declaration, so they're truly universal. I also want to add a note that using a principles-based approach is really important for businesses to make their greatest contribution to sustainable development, because these principles create a baseline of doing no harm and the baseline of business integrity. So you can see the principles as a foundation of doing business responsibly. And next, you will also see these colorful icons that are the UN SDGs, UN Sustainable Development Goals. the UN Global Compact also serves as the UN agency to work with the private sector to deliver on these ambitious targets by the year 2030, which is the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So to also quickly explain why we're uniquely positioned to help companies, you may have also heard of other UN agencies. Those UN agencies also work with the private sector, but they work with the private sector mostly about funding, about creating projects for country-level development. But the UN Global Compact is the unique UN agency that were founded by Mr. Kofi Annan and works directly with the UN Secretary General himself right now, Mr. Guterres, to really help companies achieve their sustainability goals through a principles-based approach developed by the UN. So that is the UN Global Compact. Next, please. So now, after 23 years, we have now become the world's largest corporate sustainability initiative. We have more than 20,000 companies committed to the 10 principles, and they're coming from around the world, from more than 160 countries. And we're extremely thrilled to see a growing number of participants in Australia, now reaching to more than 330. So I really sincerely invite all of you to also join the UN Global Compact, to join the movement and to support the achievement of the world's sustainability agenda. What makes us unique is that we also have a global footprint with more than 60 local networks from around the world. The local network serves as the local office of the UN Global Compact initiative in the local country to customize, tailor the support to the local business community. Because you can imagine, human rights means differently in Australia versus in, for example, India or China. So the local networks can really help us to localize and tailor the support to meet the local business needs. You will hear more from Greta about what we offer, how we support you, what you benefit from engaging with the UN Global Compact globally and locally after my short presentation. All right, next, please. Before I dive further, I also want to highlight that businesses are transforming nowadays. They're turning to sustainability and innovation to reimagine the agenda. So some progress data to share with you, and of course, opportunities. Next is a landscape of sustainability that we're seeing right now. Every year, we survey company CEOs, business leaders to understand more about the landscape of sustainability. What we're seeing from the most recent CEO study is that CEOs from around the world are all in on sustainability, particularly CEOs in Asia, Oceania region. They're committed to their role as a sustainability leader, as well as protecting and advocating for their local communities. 98% of the CEOs, they agreed to the statement that it is my role to make my business sustainable. And this number increased by 15 percentage points in the past 9 years. And I believe many of you will also agree with this statement you see on the bottom left of the screen. This is a statement coming from the group CEO of Vedanta Group from India. A sustainable business is a profitable business, and you are only going to stay relevant if you are pursuing the sustainable agenda. And this message is, I hear this message over and over again from companies from around the world. So we are seeing many companies are taking actions nowadays. And next, you can see still there are many challenges remain. Last year marked the halfway to the year 2030, which is the year to deliver the UN SDGs. But sadly, we were not halfway there to achieve the UN SDGs. Our study with companies, we found that 85% of the 169 SDG sub-targets are showing either no progress or a reversal in progress, and none of the SDGs are on track to be delivered by the year 2030. So there's a huge gap that we need to close. Next I also have some particular data I want to highlight. So on gender equality, a topic that's really important to the business community, we see that only 5% of the Fortune Global 500 companies are currently led by a female CEO. And it's going to take 257 years to close the gender pay gap. However, we are also actively looking for solutions. We identified 6 simple pro-women actions on pay and conditions can actually help the world close 2/3 of the pay gap. So there are huge opportunities also remain while the challenges are being observed. Next slide. I believe it's on climate action. Yes. We also see that 34% of the companies from around the world, they made a public statement to achieve a net zero target. But not all of these targets are actually aligned to the 1.5 degree pathway, and they're not yet completely aligned to the net zero that we need to achieve to progress. So we are making targets, but the targets are not ambitious enough. They're not really aligned to the reality. And we also see huge opportunities that we can actually create 395 million jobs by transitioning to a nature positive economy. So you see, I highlighted some of the challenges, and there are lots of business opportunities remain that we yet to be unlocked. Those are yet to be unlocked. So with that, I hope this is a helpful context for you. And I want to hand it to Greta to introduce you to the UN Global Compact and how we can help you to unlock those business opportunities. Over to you, Greta.
That's great. Thank you very much, Simiao. Very insightful. Okay, so let's have a look at how we support and enable business. Next slide, please, Emilia. So when an organization joins us, it commits to aligning its strategies and operations to the 10 principles. When it comes to the Sustainable Development Goals, you can click once more, Emilia, the idea is to drive impact on specific goals. The SDGs, as you hopefully know, are not to be regarded as a tick box exercise. Rather, you identify where your organization has an outsized effect on outcomes, positive or negative. Where there are gaps, you work with us and utilize our offering. Where there is expertise, thought leadership, and leading practice within your business, we want to amplify and collaborate. And you can click again, Emilia. Regardless of the size, location, business type, or sector, organizations can scale their action and contribute to advancing the goals. And lastly, once a year, organizations submit a communication on progress, or COP, as we call it, to disclose where they are at in their alignment to the 10 principles and in advancing the SDGs. There is no pass or fail, so we are not a compliance tool, we are not a standard, but rather a disclosure tool. It's a disclosure tool for organizations to self-assess and then communicate how they are advancing the goals. Next slide, please. We have identified 7 focus areas, also known as our lead and shape areas, where the business community can have a strong impact. We've designed a portfolio of initiatives to help you deliver on them. They are human rights, labor and decent work, climate change, anti-corruption, gender equality, sustainable development, and transformational governance. These areas are at the heart of the UNGC 10 principles and the SDGs. Activities and offerings you can utilize and participate in are the following, and these are just a few examples. It would be too much to cover everything on this call today. For the human rights, we call it the Business and Human Rights Work Stream. We offer, for example, a modern slavery community of practice, both for corporations, larger corporations, but also for SMEs. There's an implementing stream and an optimizing stream, depending on where you are at in your sort of maturity levels. We also offer an annual dialogue in the business and human rights space. It's an event that is alternating between Sydney and Melbourne, bringing together practitioners in that space to speak about grievance mechanisms, due diligence, and of course, specific topics relevant to the Australian discourse, such as, the Voice to Parliament last year. In the climate change and environment workstream, for example, we run a climate ambition accelerator, which is a 6-month program that assists business to, you learn how to set a science-based target and get to net zero. There's also a number of networking events where we talk about specific climate-related topics such as biodiversity, circular economy, and so forth. In the anti-bribery and anti-corruption space, there's a big greenwashing offering coming up. I'll talk to that on a separate slide. We do business consultations, but also another annual dialogue on bribery and corruption in person, bringing together practitioners in that space. In the area of SDG integration, or we call it sustainable development, let's jump to the next slide to dive a little bit deeper. In 2023, in September, the global stocktake of the SDGs confirmed that we are currently not on track to meet the 2030 goals. To accelerate and mobilize business in advancing the goals, Forward Faster was launched. The Forward Faster initiatives is a call to action. So companies are invited to commit to action and meet the targets required to deliver the SDGs as an overview, first of all. There's 5 themes in gender, climate action, living wage, water stewardship, and sustainable investment, where there's sort of targets sitting underneath those. And we will track progress against the 2030 goals and provide resources to support progress. We will drive advocacy opportunities to encourage an enabling environment for companies to make the changes. So it's important to say that this is available to all business participants, and it's really a great example of we call it local global connection that the UN Global Compact provides. By committing to Forward Faster, participants get, mentioned on a global platform and get global exposure, global engagement. But at the same time, on the 4th of April this year, in the afternoon, leading up to the Banksia Awards here in Melbourne, the local network will be holding a Forward Faster forum, and we'll have our team, participants, stakeholders engage and get together over this initiative. Let's jump to the next slide, please, Emilia. Thank you. Something very important to mention is our Global Academy. It's a digital learning platform available to all staff of participating organizations. Some example topics are listed on the right-hand side. If you click again, Emilia, there's a lot more that you can see on that list. But also the Academy is a great source of knowledge regardless of where you are at on your sustainability journey. It offers foundational and beginners content, as well as masterclasses, deep dives, changemaker series. It truly takes you from where you are to where you would like to be. It also enables learning on your own time. For non-participants interested in learning more, you can have a sneak peek via a link that I think Emilia has just shared right now. There's an open course available to anyone. Actually, it's multiple open courses that you can have a look at. I think it's really important to reiterate that the Academy is accessible to all staff. So if you are a multinational organization and you've got staff around the world, everybody has access to the Academy when you become a participant. You can also create learning plans for your team and request from me lists that show you who has taken which class and which course and the completion level and things like that. Okay, next slide, please. Let's have a look at the global events. These are just a few. This is just an overview to give you a bit of a taste. Globally, there are several annual forums and summits, such as the SDG Business Forum, the Private Sector Forum, a Leaders Summit, the Summit for the Future. There's a lot going on this year. These focus on accelerating the SDGs and on working with the business community on ambitiously advancing the private sector's impact on positive change. And let's now have a look at our local network offering. Thank you, Emilia. So here in Australia, we offer both online and in-person events. We share knowledge, convene, we connect, and we ask our participants about what it is that they want to see from us to stay ahead of the game. So this month only, we are kicking off our first virtual breakfast for corporate participants, followed by an SME version of that in March. Something that we would recommend for participants and non-participants is our programs launch on the 5th of March, where you get to hear from our team directly about activities that the individual workstream managers are working on and will be offering throughout 2024. So all of this can also be viewed on our website on the events page. And if you have any specific questions about any of these, reach out to me. You'll get my details at the end of this presentation. Next slide, please. Okay, very important. Please save the date. We will be holding a conference in Sydney at the end of October, so on the 30th and 31st of October. Maybe you just remember Halloween, maybe. The United Business Life Australia Conference, Sustainability in Action event, is a 2-day event, including our participant dinner, a CEO roundtable, to really highlight the importance of transformational governance and progressive leadership for advancing the goals. There'll be breakout sessions. So we are putting it all together still. There's a lot that we are trying to put into this, and well, we really hope to see you there. And the next slide, please. The term greenwashing has been on everyone's lips in the last year or so. So we are really excited to launch a new online course in the coming weeks called Greenwashing: Time to Stop the Spin Cycle. This is a collaboration between the UNGCNA, Kahoot, and Salter Baxter, bringing together a range of experts and great content specifically tailored for marketing and communications professionals. But having said that, the course would be great for ESG staff or other professionals with an interest in this area as well. The multimedia course will take you through a range of resources, case studies, key principles, largely self-paced, during a 2-week window in mid-March. The estimated course time is about 8 hours over the 2 weeks. You really will get to connect and network with your peers through this interactive learning platform in a live private discussion group facilitated by the UNGCNA team. So we encourage you to sign up, and there's a discounted rate available for participants. Registrations are now open. The next slide. Thank you so much, Emilia. So if you are interested in joining us, you can obviously talk to me, but here are the 3 key steps you need to know. The first step is to review the application guidelines, just to make sure you register for, in the right space. The second step is the preparation of your letter of commitment. In this letter, your organization commits to the 10 principles and to together help us achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. There is a template for this letter, so do not worry, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And the third step is to fill out the online application form. The global team then reviews your application, and you will hear from me once you have been approved. It's pretty straightforward, but again, if you have any questions, any concerns, you can reach out to me. I would be more than happy to assist or take you through this online directly. Now, let's go to question time, because I see there's a few people on the call, so I'd love to see if anything has come through. I'm just going to have a look in the chat window. Does anyone have a question?
Hi, Greta. Thank you so much for your presentation. Yeah, I have a few questions, but the first one will be, you have mentioned that you guys are supporting and providing resources for businesses and companies to achieve SDG goals, right? And do you mind to elaborate, like, what are the details or what kind of support can you guys provide?
Of course. Well, there's a lot of both local, regional, and global support in various formats. So you have just seen a few of, the events that we are holding. For the Australian local network, we've got sort of 4 main work streams that we cover: business, human rights, environment, climate change, anti-bribery, anti-corruption. We sort of call it sustainable governance. And then there is sustainable development. And there are publications, webinars, consultation sessions, presentations, launch events in all of these areas, sort of tackling specific issues that sit in these, that we call them pillars. And then, so let's say under publications, we on our website, I'm not sure if this is too much to ask Emilia, but we have a publications page. Perfect. Thank you very much. So Emilia has just shared the link where you can see some examples, including, for example, what SMEs can do, specifically SMEs. I'm just pointing out a specific publication to use this as a framework to report against the SDGs. So this is just one example. Maybe, I don't know, Simiao, would you like to talk about anything specifically on the regional or global level?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great question that you raised. So I want to mention that we also have some training programs called accelerator programs. And many of these programs are delivered by the local network. And if the local network is not doing it, we also have a regional track or a global track that the company can be part of. So we have a accelerator program called the SDG Ambition Accelerator Program. The local network actually ran quite a few rounds in the past, and I don't think they're offering it this year, but we have a global track and a regional track that you can join. In the past 4 years that we organized this training program, we already had more than 1,600 companies participated. And what we do is a 3-month-long training program. And throughout the 3 months, we have learning modules created for companies to understand more about the UN SDGs. Then we also have workshops created to help companies identify the most relevant SDGs for their business. And then we have expert-led discussion groups, peer-to-peer learning sessions. And then the goal is to really help the company create their strategy, their work plan, their action plan that's aligned to the SDGs, and then to improve the company's performance on these identified SDG areas, and then to keep track and to keep measure their progress on the SDGs. So I think that's a really practical training program that companies can join and to achieve the targets around the SDGs. So that's one program I want to mention. And then in Greta's presentation, you also saw there are lots of other capacity building programs, such as the online learning platform called the Academy. We have a lot of Academy courses on the topic of the UN SDGs. And then if you want to understand more about at the generic or the fundamental level, we have those courses. We also have a course in deep dive into different core issue areas relating to the SDGs, such as on climate action, on how to set a science-based target. We have topics such as gender equality. So all of these topics are closely related to the UN SDGs. And once you become a participant, all of your employees, regardless of how big your organization is, all of them can get this full access to our Academy learning platform. So it's quite powerful. You can use it as an engagement tool for your company. So I think these are the 2 things I want to highlight, particularly on the SDGs.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Simiao. Mary, does that answer your question, or you were saying you had a couple of questions?
Yeah, that answered brilliantly. Maybe we can move on to another participant first, because I don't want to occupy everyone's time.
No, that's totally fine. Well, I saw that Bianca had a question around, let me just find it again, around, what is sort of, sorry, there it is. Are these event resources, tools, mentoring free for members? Yes and no, it depends a little bit. So a lot of the offerings from us on the local network level are free for participants, and that is the same on the global level. So the previously mentioned Academy is completely free of charge, open to all staff. Most of our local networks offering are free of charge for participants. Some where we bring in subject matter experts do attract a small administration fee. But for participants, there will always be reduced rates when it comes to that. I can see there's another message. Oh, sorry, that was Emilia. Thank you. Adelaide next week. So, for example, next week, Emilia and our manager, environment and climate change, Evan, and myself, we're going to Adelaide for a networking event. And that is free for participants, but attracts a very small fee for non-participants. So in case you are there, please make sure you attend. I think there's a couple of spots left. And we are holding this event at the South Australia Museum. So it's a fantastic location. It would be lovely to see people there. Is there a minimum company size requirement to join the UNGCA? Fantastic question. Simiao, would you like to answer this?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
One thing I really want to highlight, what differentiates the UN Global Compact with the other organizations working on sustainability is that we are very inclusive. We believe that every single company can play a part to contribute to the achievement of the UN SDGs. So we welcome companies of all sizes in all industry from all around the world to join the UN Global Compact. However, we do have one minimum requirement for the business, which is to have at least one full-time employee, because we do need someone to be the key contact point to work with the UN Global Compact globally or locally, and to keep the engagement, the momentum going. So we do require the company to have at least one full-time employee.
Thank you, Simiao. That's great. It was a great question. Thank you for asking. Are there any other questions? Mary, maybe back to you. I can see you're off mute.
Amazing. Yeah, so I was thinking about the academy looks extremely attractive, and just want to add on a question, which will be, would that be practical in real life or just more of the theory-based course? And for the accelerator, I know it wouldn't be happening in local network this year, but in terms of like global network, will there be any requirements for what kind of company can join?
So I'll start with your second question. So the sorry, did you say accelerator? Yeah, thank you. Anyone can join, so it has to be a business. So I understand we would allow academia, but it is very much business focused, because it's about how to set a science-based target and get to net zero. Not that universities are not trying this, but I think in terms of the content, it's a bit more specified towards businesses. Interestingly, we set out with the goal to sort of do this for SMEs, but we had a lot of larger organizations reach out saying, can we please participate? And so we pivoted a fair bit to be more inclusive. And that was a great decision, because a lot of businesses are interested in that space. So it's not, there's no restrictions as such. So thank you for that question. In terms of your question around the academy, again, Simiao, is it something that you might want to cover, because you're a little bit more involved with the academy team?
Yes, and sorry to go back to the last question I answered. One thing to add is that the company must be a participant of the UN Global Compact. That is a requirement to join. Yeah, and then going back to the question about the academy. So I believe it's quite practical, because currently we have many companies already rolled this out to thousands of their employees to join from the Asia region. And we have multiple types of courses. So we have those courses called the foundation courses. Those are really short, about 15 to 30 minutes long. And those are the step-by-step learning course that you can control your own pace. Basically, you can start, you can pause, you can go back, you can go forward at any time. So those are the foundational courses covering some of the foundational concepts, such as what is the UN SDG and how can I take action on these global goals? So those are some fundamental generic courses that I recommend for every single person from the company to take action to join. So those are the on-demand courses that people can join anytime on their own time and at their own pace. And then we have some courses called the deep dive courses. And those deep dive courses usually take place live. So we invite speakers that are coming from the industry to talk about their practical action on that topic We also invite experts to talk about the conceptual knowledge of that topic. And then we have audiences that can join to have a conversation among each other. And then they can also post questions to these practitioners and experts. Those usually take place live, and we offer it in multiple time zones. So we usually offer one that's friendly for the Western time zone in the US, Europe. We also offer one for the Asia, Oceania region as well. So people can join with these multiple options. And if you miss the deep dive sessions live, we also turn those live sessions onto a on-demand course as well. So you can always go back to the platform and watch the on-demand version of the deep dive session. So I believe those are quite practical. We try to make it fit for companies of all sizes from all around the world.
That's amazing. Sounds very exciting. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Simiao, and thanks for your questions, Mary. Bianca just asked, how about NGOs? Can NGOs participate in the accelerator? It is tailored towards business. So I'm not sure if there's a difference on the global level, Simiao. I don't believe so, but this is an offering for the business sort of membership or participant, as we call them, base. And yeah, so that is my response to that. I don't know if there's any exceptions to that rule, Simiao.
No, unfortunately, because the UN Global Compact, the role is to really engage with the companies, the SMEs from around the world for them to take action. I'm not saying that NGOs and non-business organizations are not important. They are very important. They are strong partners to us to develop many of the contents. But our goal, the mission of the UN Global Compact, is to work, convene, unite businesses from around the world for them to take concrete action. So all of our programs are actually designed for businesses, and we do limit these kind of accelerator learning programs to those business participants of the UN Global Compact. But if this changes in the future, we will of course let you know.
Yeah, thanks, Simiao. I think it's a great question, Bianca, because look, we are a private sector initiative. You know, we are really very much focused on the private sector, but you can join being a not-for-profit organization, for example. So we call this category non-business. It's universities, business associations, NGOs. So you can join. What we believe is that the non-business, let me say, world is often at the sort of cutting edge of specific information. This is where, for us, the collaboration piece comes in a lot. So you may not need as much content towards how businesses get to net zero, for example, but you might have specific information where you are the subject matter experts, where we have you speak on panels, you know, and let you talk about the work you do and amplify this information and share that knowledge. Are there any further questions? We've got about a bit more than 5 minutes left. No questions at the moment. Mary, anything else?
No, not yet. No, it came to my mind yet. Your presentation is amazing. You guys have already covered all the major points. Thank you.
Thank you, Kandi. That is very, very kind of you. Well, maybe let's jump to the next slide then, Emilia, please. So if you're interested in learning more or in being contacted by our team, really me in that instance, please scan this QR code. It will also take you to a very quick feedback survey. We'd be grateful if you could let us know what you thought about today's presentation. We'd love to hear your views and let us know how we can do better next time. So there's also a link, yes, SurveyMonkey, that Emilia has just shared in case you can't scan the code or we are moving on to the next slide too quickly. So let's jump to the very last slide, and with that, I probably will close today's presentation. We would like to leave you with a final thought or maybe quote today from the United Nations Deputy Secretary General, Amina J. Mohammed. To scale global collective impact, we need to do it together. Collaboration, North, South, East, and West, Black, Brown, White. Strengthen the diversity of the human family is what we need right now. It might sound like it's impossible, but that's what we work towards, making the impossible possible. So we are here to meet your business where you are and guide you on your sustainability journey. I look forward, all of us look forward to following up with anyone who requests a follow-up call or further information in general. And with that, I wish you an enjoyable afternoon, and thank you very much to Lauren, Emilia, Simiao, and everybody on the call today.